That's it.
Thank you, Press.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, reaction.
It was the week to end all weeks for the MAGA faithful, and it wasn't even technically a full one just yet, at least as I record this video. At a scant 6 days into his administration, Trump's executive orders have kicked up the biggest flurry to not wind up in Hunter Biden's nose. If you'll permit me a moment to stabilize on the nearest desk, I'll even recite a fair few of them for you. First came the Jan 6th pardons. Yes, everyone from the Jan 6 shaman to the lectern guy, and indeed a man we championed inexhaustibly on this channel, the great John Schaefer, were all pardoned with profound prejudice. Rock on, John. Now cut us an Iced Earth album real soon, would you? On immigration, he ended catch and release, resumed building the border wall, suspended the refugee resettlement program that turned the Twin Cities into mini-Somalia, and restarted the Remain in Mexico policy from the first Trump presidency. He removed pronouns from passports, formally established the existence of only 2 genders, and extricated the U.S. entirely from the World Health Organization, which might sound like a dramatic divorce to you, but keep in mind, if we ever need anything, we can always go straight to the WHO's bosses in Beijing. He ended Biden's electric car mandate, halted the creation of any and all economic regulations, ceased Biden's social media censorship initiatives, killed the construction of worthless wind farms. Hell, we're winning so eagerly and often at this point it flew clear under the radar when Trump signed an executive order banning trans people from serving in the military, which, given their suicide rate, should probably be renamed the Cutting Out the Middleman Act. Although I do worry we're missing out on a potential source of recruits to answer the Islamic world's kamikaze corps. Hell, have the Army set up a trans suicide hotline, complimentary pilot's license with each consultation. Look, the list is longer than a catalog of Amber Heard's mental illnesses, and the MAGA faithful were at full mast throughout, though it wasn't met with all-encompassing acclaim, as Colombia took a break from cutting coke and killing bitches to refuse to accept their most violent illegal aliens back behind their borders. When Trump learned of this, he slapped a 25% tariff on same. President Gustavo Petro, easily the most talkative Colombian since Pablo Escobar, took a powder from pounding a dude in drag to slap a 50% tariff on all U.S. goods, arguing it would cause his economy to struggle. To which I press X to shriek the word bullshit! Colombia is a country where you can order marijuana over the phone by pressing the hash key. How's it even humanly possible for your economy to crap itself? Of course, when Trump threatened to do likewise, the entire castle of coke bricks went tits up, Colombia cucked like the Dickens, and President Pee-Pee Touch ran sobbing into his 5-story fortress of murder money. Let that be a lesson to you on the dangers of trafficking drugs, kiddies. If you're not careful, you too could end up with a mansion and a Lamborghini at age 25. I haven't seen the Colombians this felted since President Lopez let the slaves free 12 years before Lincoln pretended to. And Trump wasn't done. He renamed the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, chest pounded about the Panama Canal, and took steps to assume ownership of Greenland from a frankly disinterested Denmark. And I want to point out, this is a more circumspect stratagem than I think Trump is traditionally given credit for. With the Panama Canal a subject of contention, the next major trade route would be through the Northwest Passage, which China and Russia currently happen to be eyeballing the same way Chris Christie looks at the last bonbon in the box. By incorporating Greenland and strong-arming Canada, America shits on the Chi-Coms and puts Putin out to pasture, all without floating a single armada. But he wasn't done domestically, announcing apocalyptic FBI, CIA, and ATF layoffs affecting an estimated 15 to 25,000 feckless feds, issuing a full freeze on newly hired IRS agents while announcing the 90,000 new hires at the agency have an option of either being fired or employed at the border. And if that made you harder than a mastodon tusk, consult your doctor, because for what came next, you may well need the nitroglycerin.
It's time for the United States to return to the system that made us richer and more powerful than ever before. You know, the United States in 1870 to 1913, all tariffs, and that was the richest period in the history of the United States, relatively speaking. As I said in my speech last week, instead of taxing our citizens to enrich foreign nations, we should be tariffing and taxing foreign nations to enrich our citizens. Does that make sense, right?
The possible end of the century-old era of income tax, a mass national version of Joe Arpaio's illegal immigration sweeps, an internal revenue hiring freeze, folks. I want you to hear this and commit it to memory like a chess prodigy. If this madman manages to abolish the IRS, I don't care if he runs until we run out of Roman numerals. I will vote for this man's brain in a jar, and you can quote me on it. At least unlike his predecessor, Trump will actually have something to fill the jar with. But here's the thing. He kind of did this same thing in 2016, too. Have a Google gander at the first week of Trump's first term, and it reads like a Dear Santa letter from Ron Paul. The problem is executive orders are not law. They're overturned at whim by the incoming administration, which is precisely what President Poopy Pants and his puppeteers undertook to do. Meaning, unless the Senate signs some of this shit into law, we can look forward to 4 more years of Bidenflation and fagaloon politics when the opposite party returns to power. Last go around, Trump had to contend with the likes of McCain and Mormo Mitt undermining his Obama-rectomy. This time around, he doesn't, but Congress isn't without its recalcitrant con-ink asshats either. Though Pete Hegseth was indeed confirmed this week, it was over the explicit objections of an insurgent Mitch McConnell and company. The war ain't even almost over, folks. As excellent as all this is, step 2 never comes if we don't enact an electoral purge of the rhino right. We can kiss it all goodbye if Democrats manage to rig it all for Governor Gavin or an AOC administration that'll go as pear-shaped as she has. You see, Democrats can eke out a law or a confirmation with a maybe or two on their own side. Republicans are such able and inveterate backstabbing bullshit merchants. If you don't have a +10 vote cushion on your own side, you can kiss confirmation goodbye. And this, my friends, is why the DeSantis, Simpson, Haley halfwits, as well-meaning as many were, must be mocked mercilessly, because it absolutely, positively, indefatigably had to be Trump. Only Trump had the movement and machinery to fumigate the vermin in our own midst. Only Trump could fire the words "I told you so" out of a howitzer in the damn debates, and only Trump could listen to the entire media repeating the lie that America is only an idea and reply, "Yeah," and loading illegals into a giant trebuchet and projectile deporting them back to Burkina Faso is also an idea. I'm Razor Fist. Consult your doctor if it lasts any longer than 4 hours, and Godspeed.
Well, Margaret, I don't agree that all these immigrants or all these refugees have been properly vetted. In fact, we know that there are cases of people who allegedly were properly vetted and then were literally planning terrorist attacks on our country. That happened during the campaign, if you may remember. So clearly not all of these foreign nationals have been properly vetted.
But there are 30,000 people in the pipeline, Afghan refugees.
But my primary concern as the vice president, Margaret, is to look after the American people. And now that we know that we have vetting problems with a lot of these refugee programs, we absolutely cannot unleash thousands of unvetted people into our country. It's not good.
These people are vetted.
Just like the guy who planned a terrorist attack in Oklahoma a few months ago, he was allegedly properly vetted, and many people in the media and the Democratic Party said that he was properly vetted. Clearly he wasn't. I don't want my children to share a neighborhood with people who are not properly vetted, and because I don't want it for my kids, I'm not going to force any other American citizens' kids to do that either.
No, and that was a very particular case. It wasn't clear if he was radicalized when he got here or while he was living here.
I don't really care, Margaret. I don't want that person in my country, and I think most Americans agree with me.
Pack the gat in the small of my back. Where these niggas at? I clear the whole pack.